I found my childhood in the ancient green mountains of the Appalachians. In those boulder-strewn rivers, with flowing water as cold as ice, I spent morning and afternoon playing. My family would always take camping trips to Cades Cove, Elkmont, and other parks, where my utmost concern before arriving was always about the location of our campsite in relation to the creeks. One of my favorite activities was to build little channels and dams, then watch the way the water moved. I was fascinated with my hands' ability to shape the world. I could be lost in my little projects for hours and forget completely about the campsite I was supposed to be helping to set up. Among those mossy banks, by silver stones, quartz, and sand, I had a sense of happiness that would become rarer and rarer as I left childhood behind. As I grew older, these moments dwindled. With growing maturity, I found fewer reasons to be happy and more reasons to feel discontent. In high school, I began to learn about the way humans had been systematically destroying the nature that I saw. I felt blame and anger in my heart towards humans, myself included. When I came to college, my cynicism grew. However, I also began to find ways to be a part of the healing of the earth and my own cynicism. A part of healing takes place externally as the self-pitying gaze turns outwards and finds that the rest of the world is in full of pain too. As I recognized my own pain, I began to take in the pain of the world as well. I wanted to bring life back to both. My work at the university farm through Bonner gave me a place to explore the act of creating life. Beginning the first semester of my freshman year, my Bonner work has been devoted to these little insects called black soldier flies. To address the issue of food waste rotting in landfills, I began working with the farm manager, Carolyn Hoagland, to engineer a waste management system that was self-reliant and sustainable. Our method of choice was the black soldier fly, an incredibly common species that can be found all over the American continent. Because it is a native species, BSF can be bred on the plateau with no concern for any alteration in the current ecological stability of the region. Adults typically lay close to 500 to 800 eggs in one batch. After hatching, the larva will grow from the size of grains of sand to about half an inch in length. During the larval stage, these small grubs are used for several different purposes. The main product is sustenance for the chicken and fish. The grubs are rich in nutrients and proteins that cannot be provided in the same density by dry chicken feed. However, in the process of growing from the larval stage to the pupal stage, the larva will eat twice their weight in a day. To meet this need, 500 pounds of food waste generated by McClurg Dining Hall can be used to convert indigestible or unsafe vegetable matter to edible feed for livestock. This provides a form of waste management that reduces food waste by a whopping 90%, and the waste that larvae cannot consume can be put on a traditional compost pile. Through this process, a huge amount of food waste is kept out of landfills. Furthermore, these larvae can be used to provide an efficient, minimal cost, and environmentally beneficial source of chicken and fish feed. I've spent 4 years working on this project, and there have been plenty of stumbling blocks, failures, and breakthroughs. However, the most enjoyable moment of the whole process happened my junior year. I finally had a breakthrough with breeding BSF in captivity, and we began regularly collecting egg clusters. We were still waiting to see if the egg clusters were fertile, however, and had them set up in an incubator. After about a week, we started to get worried the eggs were infertile, which would undermine our whole progress. One day, I was looking into the incubator and saw some specks on the floor of it. They were only slightly larger than grains of sand and of a light yellow color. I stuck my thumb into the incubator and wiped it across the surface. Some of the eggs stuck to my finger, and I brought it close to my face. To my astonishment, the eggs were not eggs. They were hatched larvae, and I could see them wriggling about on my finger. Bacteria and microorganisms notwithstanding, I have never held any life in my hands so small. I was astonished that I had helped bring them into creation. As humans, we often forget our ability to create and change the world through our actions. Not only that, we can beget more life. In a world where entropy is constantly disintegrating the things we cherish most, the ability to create order through life is a subversive and radical act. Within the tension of life and death, we make our meaning. Whether through giving birth to children, growing food, or raising larvae, bringing life and order into the orderless, brings hope to our lives. This is an act I believe is worth struggling and fighting for. Working with BSF at the farm has taught me much about patience and persistence. Even after my 4th year working on this project, there's plenty of work to be done, and I will likely not see many of the fruits of my labor. I can live with that, knowing that my Bonner work has been full of gifts both large and small. Even as I leave Sewanee and the farm behind, I will seek to apply what I have learned into my next steps after graduation, a year of work and intentional community living with the New York Service and Justice Collaborative.